The traditional structure of companies is a hierarchy, with a CEO at the top controlling the work of those lower down. Today, it's not so simple. I'm here in Stockholm to see a business that's got no CEO and no management. So what can bosses across the world learn from this company? Crisp is a software consultancy business with around 40 people. A few years ago, the firm did something unusual. It got rid of the CEO and left the post empty. People on the outside would say, you haven't got any leadership. So how have you managed to get it to work?
I would say we don't have a central leader, but we have lots of leadership.
So this wasn't an overnight thing. We started out by having CEOs, and then we took a look at what the things were that the CEO was doing and what the board was doing, and we said, what if we had nobody as our next CEO? What would that look like?
We realized that the role has fulfilled whatever purpose it needed, and it's not needed anymore. The person is still here. He was happy to go back to consulting.
What happens when you've got a difficult decision to make?
We have conferences 2 to 3 times a year where everybody in the company is present, and that's where we make these decisions. And at any time we say that we're going to make this decision and it's valid until the next conference. We're testing it out.
Plus the fact that people have gotten kind of used to that leadership is emergent. If you want to get something done, you stand up and start driving that.
We're very transparent, like, hey, I just took this decision. What do you say? Was it okay? Or should we change it?
And if you don't say anything, I'm going to assume it's fine.
Yeah.
Right?
So we don't have budgets either. So whatever you need to get done, let's say I want to market Crisp at some conference. So that's going to cost us some money. I need to travel there. I need to, stay at a hotel. So I ask who else wants to be in and pay for that. And if nobody wants to, then I pay for it myself, if it's still worthwhile. And if nobody else wants to pay, maybe it doesn't happen.
So what do CEOs elsewhere make of the way that Crisp does things?
You have to have a leader. Maybe the next generation of companies that's led by the next generation of leaders might figure this out. But what I see is, through all good intentions, people have different recommendations about what to do, even within the same team. One person says, well, we should do this. Another person says, well, we should do that. For very good reasons. A third person says, but we should really approach it this way. Many times a decision needs to be made. And in the end, at the highest levels, that decision maker has to be me.
As far as literally having no managers, that experiment has been run a variety of times. In some environments, maybe that can work, but I don't think anyone's figured out how to make that work at very large scale. And often infinite freedom like that can be pretty disorienting, or doesn't always feel good, because you no longer know what's important, what you need to accomplish, how fast you need to be. I think it's less like how do you eliminate process and more how do you put the right swim lanes in place so people know what to do.
The team at Crisp recognises there's lots of scepticism about their approach, but they point out that the old way of running companies has problems too.
If you look at a hierarchical organization in a fast-moving world, then if decisions have to be propagated up the chain of command and then propagated down again, that's going to cause a delay. But there's also the problem that the person making the decision doesn't understand the context.
We'd definitely rather act and get results and then discuss and talk about it than have people be paralyzed.
If you add engagement and motivation to the equation, it just multiplies, right? People who are engaged and motivated, well, they get motivated if they can make decisions and not wait for somebody else.
For centuries, companies have been run from the top, where bosses gave orders and employees obeyed. But today, that's not going to work anymore. Many businesses might not want to go as far as getting rid of their CEO. But there are valuable lessons to be learned from radical companies like Crisp.